What is up, rockers? Who is the best archer commander in Rise of Kingdoms? Well, in this video we're going to try to break it down and try to explain to you guys what I think who is the best archer commander in my opinion. I'm Shinchi42, welcome to Rise of Kingdoms, and we are a sponsored content creator for ROK. Now, if you guys already know, I have been playing with archers for a very long time now. My specialty is in archers, and I have all the archer commanders in here. Now, first thing that we want to take a look is, how does Lilith rate these commanders? So if you actually look into the question mark in here, you can see commander skill. For Artemisia is 89k. When you go look into Edward of Woodstock, it's 81k. When you look into Ramses, it's 69k. Going to YSG, it's 65.5k, and then going to El Cid, it is 62.5k. So we're not really rating the commanders based on how Lilith is rating them, but in my opinion, it kind of like directs us to where we should be looking into. So remember, these are all maxed out commanders, so the points for the skills are all maxed. First of all, a lot of people would say YSG is deemed to be the best legendary commander for archers, which at some point I agree and some point I disagree. YSG is definitely one of the best, and I would suggest that everybody should get YSG starting out in the beginning because of his value is a lot. The value that, you know, YSG can defend the city or can defend a structure, and can also, you know, perform in PvE and perform in PvP. So YSG is something that is a must that everybody should have. But the problem with YSG is that all the stuff that he has for the skill is like damage base, as you can see. The problem with this is that he really lacks an ability to become tankier. When YSG is in the open field, he is easily being targeted. Even if you hide YSG, he is still easily targeted and easily knocked out. That's a problem with YSG. It's a great AOE damage. He can attack 5 targets because of his circular shape area AOE once it is expertise, but keep in mind that this is also being reduced by 15% for each additional target, even though it's being amplified in here as well by the skill damage bonus. YSG, or Yi Songye, I would say he is in the middle tier of archers at the late game. Now in the middle to early game, I would say he is definitely on the top tier archers. Now let's take a look at El Cid. He is not the most popular, you know, archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms, but he has his value. His value really is deemed into disabling commanders active skill and normal attack for 1 second. I feel like this is under buff in my opinion. I feel like it should have been at least 2 seconds. Man, you might say additional 1 second is not enough, but like, it does make a world of difference in Rise of Kingdoms. As you can see with this one, the Guardians of Valencia is actually a pretty decent one. Defense for, you know, archers 20%, and marching speed bonus of 15%. Honestly, this is good, but if you actually compare this to like Edward of Woodstock, if you see this is giving you 30% health bonus, 30% archer marching speed. That's what makes Edward a higher tier than El Cid. Just the higher stats is being given. Another thing I don't like about El Cid is this 50% trigger, or this condition that you have, your troops has to be like in a 50% mode before you can take effect with this skill. Now the expertise skill is great. It's a new skill, increase 5% attack, 5% increased defense, and then deals extra damage to the infantry units. I just want to say that for me, El Cid is decent, but he's not like the best. I would say if you're really trying to use El Cid, I know we've seen this a lot in the Arc of Osiris with like the higher tier, you know, gaming. They really use El Cid there because it disables the active skills and normal attack of the enemies in there. So that's probably going to be the primary role of using El Cid. But honestly, El Cid, I would rate him like really at the lowest rank of the archers because his skills are just not packing, and I would just not, you know, not really. I have barely even used El Cid, honestly. If you look in my kills, it's only like 4 million kills compared to YSG, which I have used a lot, which is 35 million kills. Now let's take a look into the next archer commander that you're going to see, Edward of Woodstock. I would say Edward of Woodstock, when he came out, he was really dominating and shifted the meta, because back in the KVK 1 and KVK 2, now you have to understand, when I played this game, it's very different than the KVK 1 and KVK 2 these days because people are migrating now. When I got Edward of Woodstock, we really made a big difference because now we can eliminate the infantry commanders that are defending. So with YSG and Elsha, whenever we rally, it's impossible to really defeat and have a good advantage defeating those infantry commanders. But with Edward of Woodstock, it made a whole lot of difference. Remember when you saw the expertise of Elsha? This is pretty much the same thing with the expertise of Elsha. Skill damage bonus 25%. But the big thing is here is that damage to infantry units increased by 5%. It's similar to the expertise of Elsha, right? With the damage to the infantry units. But this is giving it 25% more skill damage bonus. And look at this. The high damage of Edward of Woodstock being amplified by this skill damage bonus. So we used to do like an Edward YSG, and that combination before really exploded the skill damage of the commander. The good thing about the YSG there is because whenever there is crowds, you're able to crowd control with YSG. So that's what I'm saying. YSG has great value and will really provide you good KVK battles. And another big thing in here is the archer health bonus at 30%, and the marching speed bonus is pretty decent in my opinion, but the health bonus is the one that really boosts Edward of Woodstock here to be a really good commander. But of course, the big kicker is the high damage of Edward of Woodstock. The only problem with Edward of Woodstock is that his rage requirement is a little bit high, 13 to 50, and then whenever he casts a skill, it's going to lose 300 rage. So it takes him a lot longer to cast the next succeeding skills, which is unfortunate. That's why pairing it up with YSG is not a bad idea. But the real thing with Edward of Woodstock is the pairing for Tamaris. Have that poison stack. But of course, that was the combo that Lilith Games have released. Honestly, Edward of Woodstock is gotta be one of the most effective archer units, and he is one of my favorite after he came out. I think it kind of pushed down YSG a little bit down into the level in here. Having Edward of Woodstock with a high damage, better stats bonus, and a decent skill damage bonus as well. And the big kicker here is damage to the infantry units, allowing archers to actually defeat infantry units. Now in the PvP level, I would say Edward of Woodstock is definitely higher ranking than YSG, but the issue is that YSG performs well on other events such as like barb chaining or canyons. Now Edward, in my opinion, doesn't really shine on the canyons because of his high casting of the skill, so it takes a lot of time for him to do it, to cast a skill, and in those type of events you need to be quick and you need to finish the enemies right away. Now Tamaris is another great commander, which is I would not recommend for you to max out. Tamaris is a commander that really complements with Edward of Woodstock, but she has other great values as well where we use her with the newer commanders as well, like Ramses and Artemisia. So with Tamaris, let's just kind of skim through here. Whenever you use Tamaris, I would say she is in the level of Edward, because the attack of your archers increase a lot by using Tamaris in here. 30%, and that poison stack as well is insane, especially if you know how to manage with the talent tree as well. And the big thing in here that what I like about Tamaris is that whenever you try to defend with her, she has some value, because whenever the cavalry attacks her, because when a cavalry attacks Tamaris, reduce the attack of cavalry units by 10%. So that's actually insane. And you have seen some videos where players defended with Tamaris. You can check it up the cards right now. It's Artemisia and Tamaris and being rallied by Attila and Takeda, and it was able to be defended quite decently considering with the troop disadvantage. Now we have the latest archer commanders in here. Ramses is what made a lot of differences in the open field battle when it comes to archers. I would say Ramses is the #1 open field battle commander for archers. Now, a lot of you guys will disagree because you're going to say, oh yeah, it's YSG because of AOE. But that's the only thing that people are basing their decision on is AOE. All right, YSG can easily be knocked out compared to Ramses. If you just leave them 1-1-1 in there, Ramses would remain longer, and YSG would probably get knocked out sooner than Ramses. Just keep in mind that Ramses is not only an amazing commander with a high skill damage, but also he has a debuff, decreasing the defense of the enemy, and this is what makes it amazing. So whenever he has expertise, he is also able to inflict with a heal immune effect. And if you don't know what this means, it means that it renders target's troop unable to heal slightly wounded units. Few key things that you want to understand in here is that with Ramses, you're going to be able to decrease the enemy's defense, and then if you have your secondary commander, then when they cast a skill, then they take benefit on this decrease of defense. What's great about this is that it's not just for you, but it's also for your teammate. Once you've decreased the defense of your opponent, then when they get swarmed, who benefits? It's everybody in your team. I mean, when you're looking at the old commanders, or when you're looking at the new commander, there's so much more stuff happening with the newer commanders. They're giving them more value. Now, I understand a lot of people are very passionate with YSG, because YSG is an early commander and everybody has them and everybody is so invested in them that they don't want to hear that YSG is a horrible commander, which he is not a horrible commander. He has great value. But it's just, when you look at the newer commanders, there's just so much better than YSG at the end of the day. Now, another great thing about Ramses is that he has archer attack 40%, right? 40%. Let's take a look at YSG in here. This is going to give you 100%. It's insane, right? But it's a trigger of 10% chance. But if I look at Ramses, there is no condition. It's a passive skill. But when I look at Ramses in here, there is no condition. It's a passive skill. You get 40% off the bat. It also has a skill damage reduction, making Ramses tankier in the open field battle. Archer attack bonus, even more damage. And archer marching speed. Now this one is only like 10% chance, right? But still, right? You already have a passive 40%, and then now you're just getting an extra 40 more percent by chance. But the big thing in here is that this thing is not triggered by chance. The skill damage reduction, that is not triggered by chance. Now, Ramses is also a healer. I've actually wanted this for a very long time, for archers to have a healer, and they did. With Ramses, it allows you to be able to maintain in the open field battle a lot longer. Now, I know slightly wounded would, have to be healed, and people are afraid of the cost, but at the end of the day, dominating in that open field battle is the most important. Knocking out players right away, having a reinforcement with your team, and clearing out that open field is more important than just healing my troops in the hospital. But it's only a 10% chance to heal my units, and also grant troop increasing defense for 40%. As you can see, if you haven't realized this yet, with the old commander and the newer commander is giving a lot of descriptions and a lot of buff with their skills. Now, this is the enhancement of the first skill. As you can see, we just increased the damage factor, and also increasing the defense reduction by 30% and allowing that heal immune effect to take place. So Ramses is way higher in YSG when it comes to PvP, because there's just a lot of buff going on with Ramses: tank ability, damage, and mobility as well. Now, you may seem like I'm trying to target YSG too much in here. I'm just trying to paint a picture in here that you guys are being deceived, saying that YSG is the best and ultimate legendary commander. I mean, he was, but not anymore. I mean, he is great in certain things, but when it comes to PvP, he is decent. Not the best, decent. Now, I would say YSG could be the best archer commander when we consider all and everything in here with the PvE as well. But when we're trying to rank commanders, we cannot weigh the PvE higher than the PvP, because the PvP is what controls the amount of kills and the amount of deaths that you will accumulate in the game. But if you want to be a farmer, then you should be looking into the tier lists that are only looking into the PvE aspect of the game and to cater for the majority of the players. When I have made my tier list, in which you have already seen, initially I rated YSG a little bit lower, because to me, I think he loses his value as the game progress, as there's more archer commanders are being released. Because at the end of the day, at the late game, YSG becomes more of a PvE commander than a PvP commander. But I'm not saying that YSG is not to be used in PvP. I'm just saying is that there are many commanders now that shines better in PvP. Now we have Artemisia, another great commander in here. I would say Artemisia is deemed to be one of the best archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms when it comes to PvP, because of her ability to defend structure. And we've seen it before, able to tank against Attila and Takeda. Artemisia is an amazing commander. Now, if you look into this patch note that is coming soon, adjusted effects of Artemisia's active skill, Battle of Salamis. The skill will deal damage to all troops led by this commander. Before the fix, the skill could severely wounded your own units, but now after the update, it would only become a slightly wounded. What happens with that is just it puts into your hospital, but now with this new fix, it's only going to put it as a slightly wounded, so they just become incapacitated. So which is really good. It ranks Artemisia a lot higher now, in my opinion, with that skill change, or with that update of the skill description. The buff that we get from Artemisia, defense and health bonus, passive skill, no condition, you get it right away. An ability to disarm. I'm just talking about the key targets in here that Artemisia provides. So basically what I like about Artemisia is that her ability to really defend in the structure and perform decent in the open field battle. And I've used her on canyons as well, very successful. We have, you know, rank S into the Lost Canyon, right? So Artemisia, why I rank her a little bit higher than the other archers is because her ability to defend, because defending a structure really is crucial. When you're defending, you are basically in charge of everybody's troops, and having a good defender, in my opinion, in my book, weighs higher than anything else. So typically when you are defending, especially in the past, what happens with the defender is that you're typically at a disadvantage. You want to have the best commander defending on structures. Now, Artemisia is not the best defenders in Rise of Kingdoms because there are other best commanders when it comes to defending, but I would say Artemisia is one of the very good defenders in Rise of Kingdoms, especially when it comes to archers. Now, as you guys have seen, we have defended more Artemisia Wu Zetian before with full archers, and in the recent KVK we have tried also an Artemisia Constantine, although with that situation it's not the archer units, so it's a very different types of build. But when we are defending with archers, with Artemisia Wu or Artemisia Tamaris, it's actually a very successful combination as well. That's what deems Artemisia much better than YSG when it comes to defending. Now, with this skill change that is going to be happening that we've just talked about, Artemisia's skills will now not inflict severely wounded. Instead, what it's going to inflict is only slightly wounded. It's going to make Artemisia's value even better, because there's going to be a lot less dead troops eventually. So with that being said, I would say Artemisia is one of the best archers in here. I would really rank her at a highest ranking. And then I would say Ramses is something that you should get. Now, Artemisia, if you're free to play, you should not get her. Like, Artemisia in a free to play tier list is practically the lowest because it's going to be useless for you if you're free to play. Ramses is going to be your highest there. It really difference, right? There's a difference between, you know, spenders and free to play, the tier list. You cannot just make one big tier list and accommodate every single type of playing style. So if you're free to play, definitely get YSG, because YSG has a lot of value, and having that different gaming compared to a spender, very different roles. So to summarize this, Artemisia is really good. Ramses, really good for open field battle. You should get him even if you're free to play. So Ramses for F2P. So YSG is also a good secondary for Ramses. If you're looking into the path where you're trying to get and you're wanting to be budgeted, I would say get YSG, get Ramses, and then look for another commander in the future. Then you can just rely on your epic commanders for the time being. I mean, if you're free to play, it's going to be very challenging for you to max out multiple legendary commanders anyway. So work your way up, save your sculptures, and look ahead of time. So if you're a spender, then you should definitely get Edward and get Tamaris as well. Now, depending on whether you are a defender or not, you should get Artemisia. With that being said, let me know what you think. I will see you again next time.